Hi, I'm Elizabeth Cauty, author of the Creative Schizophrenia blog at HealthyPlace.com. Today, I'd like to talk about mental illness and the stereotype of violence. Mental illness almost never gets talked about, except for when there's a tragedy like the recent one in Orlando, Florida. When something like that happens, mental illness gets talked about as something to be blamed for the tragedy, even though the shooter, in this case, did not have a history of clinically diagnosed mental illness. His wife said he had bipolar disorder, but he certainly doesn't represent most people with bipolar disorder who are not violent. In fact, people with mental illness are much more likely to be the victims of violent crimes than the perpetrators. So now I'm going to talk about some things you can do to help battle stigma when a tragedy comes up and mental illness is being blamed. I mentioned in my article that I was at a party where a woman said that the first thing you hear about these shootings is that the person who did it had mental illness. I could have spoken up. I could have spoken up without letting people know that I had a mental illness. I could have said, most people with mental illness are not violent. Simple as that. Most people don't even think of that. So it would be a really good thing to say. I'm sure there are other great ways you can think of to help battle the stigma against mental illness. Thanks for watching. See you next time.